in. Listen, the greatest battle you'll ever fight is not with the economy, not with other people, not even with your past. It's with your own mind. If you don't learn how to master your thinking will master you. Today, I want to teach you how to think in a way that unleashes your potential, fools your passion, and transforms your entire life. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why two people can go through the exact same event, and one comes out stronger while the other feels broken? Why is it that someone can lose everything and find the fire to rebuild, while another person in the same situation falls into despair and never recovers? The difference isn't luck. It isn't a circumstance. It isn't even talent. The difference is how they think. Your entire life, everything you experience, everything you feel, everything you do is shaped by the way you think. That's the foundation. Because thoughts are not just little sparks in your brain, they are the architects of your destiny. Your mind is either designing your freedom or building your prison. See, most people never stop to question their thoughts. They believe whatever pops into their head. I'm not enough. It's too late for me. I always screw things up. They repeat these lies so many times that they become their truth. And once it's your truth, it shapes your decisions. And once it shapes your decisions, it shapes your life. But here's what I want you to really hear. Your life is not controlled by outside circumstances nearly as much as it is controlled by what you decide to think about those circumstances. You don't control the economy. You don't control what other people do. You don't control the weather. But you control what you focus on. You control what meaning you give to events. You control the story you tell yourself. And when you change that, you change everything. Think about this. Every single breakthrough in history came from someone who thought differently. Every innovation, every movement, every revolution happened because someone refused to think the same way everyone else did. When the world said, it's impossible, they thought, oh, watch me. And that's what I want you to get. If you don't learn how to control your thoughts, you will always live at the mercy of the world around you. But when you master your thinking, when you learn how to think correctly, you become unstoppable. Let me break this down. Imagine your brain as the command center of your life. Every thought is like a signal. If the signal is weak, negative, and filled with fear, it will direct your life in a weak and negative direction. If the signal is strong, positive, and filled with purpose, it will drive your life in a powerful direction. The problem is most people are tuned into the wrong frequency. They wake up and immediately think about what's missing, what's wrong, who hurt them, and what might go wrong today. They think of scarcity. They think of limitations. They think fear, and here's the truth. Whatever you consistently think about, you move toward. If you're constantly thinking about fear, your life will be ruled by it. If you're constantly thinking about failure, you'll sabotage yourself before you even begin. But if you learn to think possibility, if you condition your brain to focus on solutions instead of problems, if you train yourself to think strength instead of weakness, your life will reflect that. Now I know what some of you might be thinking right now. You're saying, Tony, that sounds good, but my thoughts feel automatic. I can't just change them, and I understand that, because the truth is, your thoughts have been conditioned over the years, even decades. But here's the beautiful part. You may not be able to control the first thought that pops into your head, but you can absolutely control the second. You can choose not to feed the thought that weakens you. You can choose to replace it with one that empowers you. This is what separates people who rise from people who stay stuck. The people who rise understand that every thought is like a seed. If you plant seeds of doubt, you harvest doubt. If you plant seeds of fear, you harvest fear. But if you plant seeds of courage, if you plant seeds of gratitude, if you plant seeds of determination, that's what grows in your life. Your life is simply reflecting the garden you've been planting in your mind. And let's get real here. Your brain already has a natural tendency to look for what's wrong. That's how we've survived as a species. It's always scanning for danger. But what kept us alive thousands of years ago will keep us miserable today if we don't learn how to take control. You have to direct your focus consciously. You have to train your mind like a muscle. Because if you don't, the world will train it for you. Think about the last time you felt really stressed. Was it because of the actual event or because of what you thought about that event? Stress doesn't come from what happens to you. Stress comes from your thinking about what happens to you. Anxiety doesn't come from the future. It comes from imagining a future that hasn't even happened yet. Depression doesn't come from the past. It comes from holding on to thoughts about the past that you can't change. Do you see it? Your suffering is not created by the event. It's created by your thinking. Change your thinking and you change the way you feel. And when you change the way you feel, you change the way you act. And when you change the way you act, you change the results you get in life. I'll give you an example. Let's say two people lose their jobs. One says, "This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I'll never recover. Life is unfair." That thought puts them into a state of despair. In that state, they don't take action, they give up. They spiral, and soon the thought becomes reality. The other person loses their job and says, "You know what? Maybe this is the universe pushing me to grow. Maybe this is my chance to finally build that business I've been dreaming about. Maybe this is the beginning of something better." That thought creates a state of determination. In that state, they get resourceful, they take action, they create momentum. And what happens? Their life takes a new direction. Same event, completely different outcome because of how they thought. So I'm here to tell you, stop underestimating the power of your thoughts. Stop acting like what goes on in your head doesn't matter. It matters more than anything. It's the root of everything you're experiencing right now. If you want to change your life, start by changing your thinking. Start by asking yourself, what am I choosing to focus on? What meaning am I giving this situation? What story am I telling myself? Because those three questions will reveal the truth. Your life is controlled not by what happens out there, but by what happens in here. And here's the good news. You can rewire your thinking. You can condition your mind to serve you instead of sabotaging you. You can decide that every thought you allow in your head has to earn its place. If it empowers you, you keep it. If it weakens you, you replace it. It's as simple and as powerful as that, because the moment you begin to think correctly, the moment you take back control of your focus, in your meaning and your story, that's the moment your life begins to change. Let's talk about something that shapes every single choice you make, every risk you take, every opportunity you either seize or walk away from. Your beliefs. Your beliefs are like the operating system of your mind. They determine what's possible for you and what's not. They dictate what you attempt and what you avoid. And most people don't even realize that the very thing holding them back is not their situation, not their resources, not their environment. It's the invisible cage of their own beliefs. Think about this for a second. Every human being has a set of rules they live by, and those rules are built out of their beliefs. If you believe you're not smart enough, you'll never try. If you believe you're not worthy of love, you'll push people away. If you believe success is only for other people, you'll never take the steps necessary to achieve it yourself. Beliefs are self-fulfilling prophecies, and they either push you forward or they hold you down like chains around your ankles. Now, here's the catch. Most of these beliefs weren't even chosen by you. They were programmed into you. From the moment you were a child, you were absorbing beliefs from your parents, your teachers, your culture, and your environment. Maybe someone told you money doesn't grow on trees. Maybe you were told you're too shy to lead. Maybe you failed once in school and someone said, "You're just not smart enough." And without realizing it, you built an identity around those words. And here's the tragedy. People carry those limiting beliefs for decades, and sometimes their entire lives. They never stop to question them. They never stop to ask, is this really true? Or is this just a story I've been telling myself? They live as if those beliefs are facts, when in reality, they're nothing more than interpretations. But here's the truth I want you to hear. Your beliefs are not facts. They're just perspectives. They're just interpretations. And if you can create a belief that limits you, you can also create a belief that empowers you. Let me give you an example. Think about someone who believes that they're terrible at public speaking. Every time they have to speak, their heart races, their palms sweat, and they say, "See, I'm just not good at this." But that's not a fact. That's just a belief reinforced by fear and repetition. The truth might be that with practice, with training, with the right strategy, they could become phenomenal. But their belief prevents them from even trying. Now imagine if that same person chose to believe, "I can grow through discomfort. Every time I speak, I get better. I have a message worth sharing." That belief empowers them to practice, to take chances, to grow. And over time, that empowering belief becomes a reality. That's the difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck. Successful people don't live without fear. They don't live without setbacks. They live with empowering beliefs that give them the courage to move forward anyway. So let me ask you, what limiting belief have you been carrying? What's the story you've been telling yourself that's keeping you small? Maybe it's, "I'm not disciplined enough." Maybe it's, "I don't deserve success." Maybe it's, "People like me can't achieve that." Whatever it is, I want you to recognize that it is not the truth. It's just a story. And if you're the one who created that story, you can create a new one. See, beliefs are like a lens. If you wear a pair of glasses with a cracked lens, everything you look at will appear distorted. You'll think the world is broken when in reality it's just the lens you're looking through. Limiting beliefs are those cracked lenses. Empowering beliefs are the lenses that allow you to see clearly, to see opportunity where others see obstacles, and to see strength where others see weakness. And here's what's even more powerful. Your brain will always find evidence to support whatever you believe. If you believe you're unlucky, your brain will highlight every unlucky moment and ignore the good ones. If you believe you're resourceful, your brain will find solutions you didn't even know you had. That's how powerful beliefs are. They shape your focus, and your focus shapes your reality. So, how do you shift from limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs? It starts with awareness. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. Begin by catching the beliefs you tell yourself every single day. Notice the patterns, notice the excuses, notice the stories that feel familiar. Once you see them, you can challenge them. Ask yourself, is this belief helping me or is it hurting me? Is this belief moving me closer to the life I want, or is it keeping me stuck? And then you replace it. You replace the limiting belief with an empowering one. Not a fantasy, not a lie, but a belief that gives you strength. Instead of saying, I always fail, you say every failure is a stepping stone to success. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, you say, I am learning, I am growing, I am becoming. Instead of saying, I can't, you say, I can figure it out. When you do this consistently, when you condition your mind with empowering beliefs day after day, your identity begins to shift. And when your identity shifts, your actions follow. And when your actions follow, your life transforms. Because make no mistake, beliefs are not just ideas in your head. They are forces that drive your behavior. They determine whether you play small or go all in. They determine whether you give up after failure or keep fighting until you win. They determine whether you settle for a life of mediocrity or create a life of fulfillment. Think about the people you admire. Think about the leaders, the innovators, the heroes. What do they all have in common? They believed in something greater than their fear. They believed in possibility when no one else did. They believed they had the power to change their lives. And through that belief, they changed the world. And the same power is in you. You have the ability to shift your beliefs. You have the ability to rewrite the story. You have the ability to break the chains of limitation and replace them with beliefs that empower you to rise higher than you ever thought possible. But you must decide. You must make the conscious choice to stop living in the shadow of old beliefs and step into the light of new ones. Because until you do, you'll always feel like something is missing. You'll always feel like there's a gap between where you are and where you could be. That gap isn't filled with more money, more success, more approval. That gap is filled by shifting the way you believe about yourself and about what's possible. Let me tell you something that most people never realize. Your emotions run your life more than anything else. You don't make decisions based on logic. You make them based on how you feel in the moment. You don't quit because it's logical. You quit because you feel discouraged. You don't take a risk because it makes sense. You take it because you feel courageous. You feel certain. You feel alive. And this is the secret. If you want to change your life, you must learn how to master your emotional state. Every single day, you wake up in a certain state. Sometimes you wake up energized, passionate, ready to conquer the day. Other times, you wake up drained, anxious, already stressed before the day even begins. And here's the reality, your state determines your performance. If you're in a weak state, you'll make weak decisions. If you're in a powerful state, you'll make powerful decisions. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a bad state, everything feels harder? The problem isn't the problem. It's the state you're in while facing the problem. You can take the same challenge, give it to someone who's in a peak state of energy, focus, and determination, and they'll crush it. Hand that same challenge to someone who's stressed, tired, and overwhelmed, and they'll collapse under the weight of it. Same challenge, different result because of the state. Here's the key. Your emotions don't just happen to you. You create them. They are not random storms that blow through your life. They are the result of your patterns of focus, your patterns of meaning, your patterns of physiology. And the moment you realize you're the one creating them, you take back your power. Let's start with focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel. If you focus on what you don't have, you'll feel scarcity. If you focus on what you've lost, you'll feel pain. If you focus on what you can't control, you'll feel powerless. But if you focus on what you do have, if you focus on what you can build, if you focus on what's possible, you'll feel hope. You'll feel gratitude. You'll feel strength. Focus is the first key to mastering your emotions because your mind cannot distinguish between something you vividly imagine and something that's real. If you constantly focus on worst-case scenarios, your brain will experience them as if they're happening right now, flooding your body with fear and stress. But if you focus on best case possibilities, if you focus on what you're committed to creating, your brain begins to generate the chemistry of confidence and certainty. The second factor that controls your emotions is meaning. Nothing in life has meaning except the meaning you give it. The same event can be a tragedy or a gift depending on the meaning you attach to it. Someone loses their job. One person says, "This is the end. My life is ruined." Another person says, "This is my chance to finally create something of my own." Same event, two completely different emotions because of the meaning. Change the meaning and you change the feeling. This is where mastery comes in. When something happens, you have to train yourself to ask empowering questions. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this? How is this happening for me? How can I use this?" Those questions create new meaning, and that new meaning creates new emotions. The third factor is physiology. Your body is the fastest way to shift your emotions. Think about it. When you're depressed, what does your body look like? Shoulders slumped, breathing shallow, face tense? That posture sends a signal to your brain to feel more of the same. But if you stand tall, if you breathe deeply, if you move with energy, your body sends a different signal. Your emotions follow your motion. This is why athletes use rituals before competing. They get their body into a peak state because they know their body controls their emotions. And when your emotions are primed, your performance follows. The same strategy applies to life. If you want to feel powerful, move like you're powerful. If you want to feel confident, breathe like you're confident. If you want to feel unstoppable, embody it physically until your brain has no choice but to catch up. Now, here's the mistake most people make. They wait for their emotions to change before they take action. They say, "I'll do it when I feel motivated." But here's the truth. You don't get motivated and then take action. You take action and that action generates motivation. You move first and the feeling follows. If you're sitting around waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel inspired, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. You must decide to shift your state in the moment. You must condition yourself to recognize when you're in a weak state and then break the pattern immediately. Stand up, move, change your focus, change your meaning, change your body, because the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the states you live in most often. I've met people who had everything, money, fame, success, but lived in a constant state of frustration, anger, or fear. And I've met people who had very little but lived in a constant state of gratitude, joy, and love. Who do you think was truly wealthy? The difference isn't what they had, it's the emotional states they mastered. This is why mastering your emotions is life-changing. Because no matter how much you achieve, if you live in lousy states, your life feels lousy. But if you live in empowered states, even the challenges become opportunities. Ask yourself right now, what are the states you spend the most time in? Are they states of stress, anxiety, and overwhelm? Or are they states of strength, passion, and joy? Because whatever states you live in consistently will become the fabric of your life. And here's the reality, you're not going to eliminate negative emotions completely. Fear will show up, doubt will show up, frustration will show up, but mastery is about not staying stuck there. It's about recognizing the state, interrupting the pattern, and shifting into a more empowering state quickly. Think of your emotions like a thermostat. If you don't set the temperature, the environment will set it for you. But if you take control, if you decide the state you're going to live in, then no matter what's happening on the outside, you maintain power on the inside. This is the difference between a life of reaction and a life of creation. Most people live in reaction. They let their emotions be dictated by circumstances. Someone cuts them off in traffic and they live in anger. Someone criticizes them and they live in insecurity. The weather is bad and they live in frustration. That's a reaction. That's giving your power away. But when you master your state, you live in creation. You decide, no matter what happens, I choose to live in gratitude. I choose to live in strength. I choose to live in courage. And when you live that way, life bends to your will instead of you bending to life. Because in the end, your emotions are the fuel of your life. They are the energy that drives your actions. And if you don't master that energy, you'll always feel like you're at the mercy of something outside yourself. But once you master it, once you learn how to generate the emotions that serve you on demand, there is nothing you cannot face, nothing you cannot overcome, nothing you cannot create. Everything you want in life, every goal, every dream, every breakthrough, it all comes down to one thing: action. Without action, the greatest ideas in the world mean nothing. Without action, the most powerful vision remains just a fantasy. Without action, your potential stays locked inside you. and you never get to see what you're truly capable of. But here's the truth, action doesn't come out of thin air. Action is born from thought. Think about it. Every single action you've ever taken began with a thought. You thought, I'm hungry, so you ate. You thought, I want to learn, so you studied. You thought, I'm tired of living this way, so you made a change. Action follows thought always. And the problem for most people isn't that they don't know what to do. It's that their thoughts keep them from doing it. How many times have you known exactly what you needed to do, but you didn't do it? You knew you should go to the gym, but your thoughts told you, I'm too tired. I'll start tomorrow. You knew you should take the opportunity, but your thoughts whispered, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? You knew you should make that call, write that book, start that business, but your thoughts flooded you with doubt and you froze. It's not lack of knowledge that stops you, it's the thought patterns that precede your actions. If your thoughts are filled with fear, your actions will reflect fear. If your thoughts are filled with hesitation, your actions will reflect hesitation. But if your thoughts are filled with clarity, with conviction, with certainty, your actions will reflect power. This is why thinking correctly is so critical, because you don't get the luxury of separating your thoughts from your actions. They're connected. Your mind is the command center and your body is the executor. If the command center sends out signals of weakness, doubt, and fear, the body will carry them out. If the command center sends out signals of strength, faith, and determination, the body will carry that out. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine two people standing at the edge of an opportunity. Both of them feel uncertain. Both of them feel fear. The first one thinks, what if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm not ready? That thought creates hesitation, and hesitation leads to an action. The opportunity passes and nothing changes. The second person thinks, yes, I'm scared. Yes, I don't know everything. But if I don't try, I'll never know what I'm capable of. If I take action, I can learn, I can grow, I can adapt. That thought creates courage, courage creates movement, movement creates momentum, and momentum creates transformation. Do you see the difference? Same fear, same situation, but different thoughts lead to different actions, and those different actions create different lives. This is why it's so important to direct your thinking, because action follows thought and results follow action. If you're not happy with your results, you don't just change your environment, you don't just wait for luck, you don't just hope. You go back to the source, you change your thoughts, because those thoughts will shape the actions that lead to the results you want. Now, here's the mistake people make. They think action is only about massive, world-changing moves. They think it's about starting a company overnight or running a marathon tomorrow. But the truth is, action can be small and it still matters. Every great success story started with one small action: writing the first page, making the first call, saving the first dollar. Action compounds. And every time you take action, no matter how small, you reinforce a thought. If you take action on a thought of courage, you strengthen that courage. If you take action on a thought of fear, you strengthen that fear. Every action is a vote for the type of person you believe you are. And over time, those votes add up. They create your identity, they create your destiny. The problem is most people wait until they feel like taking action. They wait until the conditions are perfect, until they feel ready, until the fear disappears. And they never take the step, because they don't realize that action itself creates the feeling. You don't wait until you feel confident to act. You act and confidence follows. You don't wait until you feel certain. You act with uncertainty, and certainty grows as you move forward. Action is the antidote to fear. Action is the cure to self-doubt. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. But it only happens if the thought behind it is strong enough to overcome hesitation. So ask yourself, what thoughts are you allowing to run your life? Are they thoughts of limitation or thoughts of possibility? Are they thoughts that keep you small or thoughts that push you forward? Because whatever dominates your thoughts will eventually dominate your actions. And here's the truth. You don't need to have every step figured out. You don't need to know the whole path. You just need to take the next action. Because clarity doesn't come before action. Clarity comes from action. You learn by doing. You figure it out on the way. Every great achievement in history started with someone who didn't have all the answers but chose to act anyway. They thought differently. They decided, I may not know everything, but I know enough to start. That thought led to an action. That action led to momentum. And momentum built a movement. So many people are stuck in paralysis by analysis. They overthink, they overplan, they overprepare, and they never move. And the longer they wait, the heavier the fear becomes, until it crushes them. But those who think correctly know that action is the great equalizer. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the most talented. You just have to take action when others freeze. That alone separates the winners from the watchers. And here's the paradox. Once you start taking action, your thoughts actually get stronger because action feeds belief. When you act, you create evidence for your mind that you're capable. That evidence reinforces your thoughts. Those reinforced thoughts drive even more powerful actions. And suddenly, you're in a cycle of growth instead of a cycle of hesitation. But it all starts with the thought. If your thought is weak, your action will be weak. If your thought is strong, your action will be strong. And your destiny will reflect the strength of your actions. So don't underestimate this connection. Don't ignore the fact that your life is a mirror of the actions you've taken. And those actions are a mirror of the thoughts you've allowed to dominate. If you want to change the reflection, you don't smash the mirror. You change the source. You change the thoughts because the action will always follow. Now you understand the truth. Your life is shaped not by chance, not by luck, not by what happens outside of you, but by what happens inside of you. Your thoughts create your reality. Your beliefs either chain you down or set you free. Your emotions determine the quality of every moment you live. And your actions, those consistent daily choices, become the blueprint of your destiny. If you think small, you'll live small. If you believe you're broken, you'll stay broken. If you let fear run your emotions, you'll never step into your greatness. And if you sit around waiting for change without taking action, you'll spend your life wondering why nothing ever shifts. But the opposite is just as true. If you train yourself to think with power, your life will be filled with possibilities. And if you replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones, you'll start breaking through barriers that once felt impossible. If you master your emotional state, you'll live with strength no matter what challenges come your way. And if you take massive, consistent action, driven by the right thoughts, you will create a life that inspires not just you, but everyone around you. This is the path to transformation. This is the formula for lasting change. Master your thoughts, master your beliefs, master your emotions, take relentless action. And when you do, you'll discover that you've had the power all along to create a life on your terms, a life of meaning, a life of impact, a life of fulfillment.